Our last speaker comes from Brazil, Herón Sergio Moreira Begnis, Bachelor in Economic Science from Universidad Santa Cruz do Sul, Master in Rural Economy from Universidad Federal Rio Grande do Sul, PhD in Agrobusiness from Universidad Federal Rio Grande do Sul. Has published several articles and received a University Talent Award and an honor mention at the 9th Regional Economic Council of Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. Currently works for Universidad de Santa Cruz do Sul, Brazil, as a professor for the Executive Administration Master Program. Welcome.
Buenos dias, damas y caballeros. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will talk about connecting from the south of Brazil with the global economy. First, I would like to thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here today and speak with you about economics and about international trade and maybe some politics. The previous speakers took us a really great vision for historical and political for globalization process, and so I would try to make a microeconomic view from globalization. I will take my own state for the subject, and I will present you some considerations about international trade. This is my institutional affiliation. I come from a different kind of university. It's not particular. It's not government university, it's a community university. It's a different kind of university. Of course, the students have to pay for it, but I don't have government support for our costs, so we work with the resources, local resources, and students' collaborations, payments for the classes and at all. So I invite you to visit our homepage. In the last slide I will show it. Connecting the south of Brazil to the world. Conectando o sul do Brasil ao mundo. My start point is about microeconomic view, and the positive effects of international trade make some considerations. The first consideration about international trade was in, I think, 76 with Adam Smith, the importance of trade for growth and economic health. So I put my view in this basis, microeconomic basis, or a neoclassical vision of economics. So there is some approximations with Ecuador and my states. They are similar in size, people, and exportations. So I try to explain that Brazil is a large market. So we can compare with Ecuador or another country or South American country because we are a large market. So I try to put my view on my states because it's similar from Ecuador, Argentina, and Uruguay economies or other economies in Latin American economies. So it's a vision from the south, a really vision from the south, because we are closer with Argentina and Uruguay than the rest of Brazil. Culturally and economically, we are next to Argentina and Uruguay than the rest of Brazil. So I present you a view, a gaucho view from international trade. So we have a similar biome that be unique in the world, that called pampas. There are a human figure that called gaucho, that is the same culture in Uruguay, Argentina, and Brazil. So our productive systems are closely. So it's important to understand that Mercosur is not work as well as they want to be work. When we speak about trade, the first condition to international trade is logistics. So we have a big port, a big seaport in Rio Grande, in the south, the extreme south of Brazil, and we can export and import goods by this port. This is an important port that moves a large scale for grains, containers, and raw materials. So we have a good infrastructure in terms of logistics to connect us with the rest of the world. Particularly, this data shows the exports from Rio Grande do Sul to the rest of the world. We can see that China, Argentina, and the United States are the first markets that we send our production. China, of course, the largest market in the world, it's an important partner, commercial partner for us. So I try to do some particular visions about our products and their capacity to improve income and technologies in local production. So that's my point. My point is that international trade could be important if they can promote economic growth and technology improvements in local economy. So see, if the international trade could not promote growth, economic growth, or technology pushes, technology improvements, they're not important. They are not important. So strategically, we have to choose some products that have the potential to be more, how can I say, more attractive for foreigners' investment to improve economic growth and technology in local economy. So when I saw in this chart, the Mercosur is not so important for us in terms of trade. Argentina occupies the second position in our exportation, and I will talk about it later. But the rest of the Mercosur countries that are not important not so important. They are important, of course, but not so important for our trade. Even because we think about economic improvements, we think that we have to connect it with large markets, developed markets that can provide technology, capital, because these factors are very scarcity in economies like Latin American countries and economies. The main problem, in my view, is that scarcity, first of all, capital scarcity and technology scarcity. the main problem to our economies. So the Mercosur, it's in fact, it's not involve a large commerce with one and another country that compose the Mercosur. So, with exception from Argentina, I will show you in the next slides. Argentina is the first market for exportations to Mercosur. Mercosur only have 14% of our exportations, the total of Mercosur. So the Mercosur cannot provide an important market for us. Mercosur cannot accomplish with the role that it be planned or the political agreements wants to do. But I think Mercosur is more political, a political agreement that, in fact, an economic issue or economic way to make business, because the economies are very similar. We have no complementarities. So if you have no complementarities, it's difficult to export, to trade. We have different production systems to export. If we produce the same products, we cannot sell it for our Mercosur members. So Argentina is the first partner in Mercosur. This chart shows the first 10 producers, goods that we export. The first product is soybean. The second is tobacco, poultry, meat, and we highlight some of these products because they have a large potential to attract for any foreign investment and promote local development. Some of them, soybean, for example, tobacco, and I will show you how they can do it. We have to think strategically to promote international integration, because international integration needs a little bit government intervention, because they have to promote the infrastructure and the conditions to export these products. But some of these products can promote a good integration. Another products cannot do it. And I will show you how. I expect. So I highlight these three products: soybean, tobacco, and vehicles, especially cars, because they have a great potential to attract foreign investments. Let's start to the 30 product, the 30 commodities that we export. Poultry meat. Why poultry meat? We have a large potential to produce poultry meat in our country, especially in our state, because we have crops, grains that produce the feed for chicken. So poultry meat, it's important for exportation, but it's not important for integrating economy, because they have no potential to attract foreign investment. It represents a good value in exportations and have some potential because we reach with this product potential markets like the Middle West countries. It's a large potential market. So what's the problem with poultry meat? The problem is that it's not attractive for foreign investment. All processing industries that export poultry meat are capital local. So we have two big groups, economic groups, that command or domain this market. So they use imported technology, but not so developed technology. It's a basic technology to export poultry meat. And okay, it moves a large chain of producers, traders, but we have no investment in this sector. The technology is the same. The technology doesn't move, and we have no potential to attract foreign investment in this sector. The sector is dominated. It's two companies, BRF and GBS, dominate the most part of the exports. We have some cooperatives working in this market, but not so. It's not a great volume of exportations from these companies, the cooperative companies, like the brands Minuano and Langiru. They are cooperatives. We have a large number of producers, rural producers, but as I saying, the technology doesn't move. The technology have no change. So we have no progress in this area. The case of shoes, if you pay attention in the previous chart, shoes are important for exportation. But shoes is the same case of poultry meat. We have local industries that produce commodities. For example, a big chain, like Walmart or other big chain of stores in the United States or Europe, demands shoes from this enterprise in Brazil. So they have no a brand, they have no a trademark. So it's a commodity. And all the industry of shoes use imported technology, but not promote, but this technology, that is imported technology, doesn't promote spillovers around this sector, like others goods can be. Like soybean. Soybean, it's a grain. It's a primary product. But why they can become important for us? It's become important because China is the largest market, of course. But soybean moves a large chain that involves traders, producers, exporters. And first of all, soybean, the production of soybean and other grains, promote an attraction for foreign investment. These are global players that are coming from my state, to Brazil, and put capital and new technologies. Bong is the most important trader in grains, soybean, first of all, in the world. And Yara is his subsidiary, fertilizers. But most important is the machinery producers. Machinery producers that produce tractors, harvesters, and they invest in our state with factories, manufacturers, and they can. We have spillovers, technological spillovers with this kind of investment because you have to produce some implements, machinery implements to use with the tractor, for example, and tillage machines that are producers for local enterprise. So we have a technological spillover that moves forward our economy, our local economy, because a lot of enterprise grow up with the shadows of the international enterprises that come from with large capital and new technologies that is spread for the other sectors around these factories. So soybean moves this chain. The exports of soybean can move this chain. Tobacco. My region, where I live, produce the most part of tobacco in the world, except China. But China doesn't export tobacco. It's a large consumer of tobacco. We have, if you have the most delicious cacao in the world, we have the most tobacco in the world. The most flavored tobacco in the world. I think Ecuador produces tobacco too, but for cigars. Our tobacco is important because they means the flavor that our tobacco has is not even or not encountered in the other producers. They called it a flavor tobacco that produce and permit that differentiation of the brands, the cigarette brands, like Hollywood or Hilton or another brands of cigarettes. Those the tobacco produced in our region, it's very important. It's generates about 2 million jobs in the south of Brazil. It's very important for us. Not healthy, but important, economically important. Tobacco can attract a lot of international investment. The global players are there, and the investment moves our economy forward. And these enterprises, the largest enterprise in tobacco in the world is British American Tobaccos, BATI. So they have Souza Cruz, the important group, economic group, and we have Philip Morris, and we have even Universal Leaf Tobaccos, the trade leader in tobacco, leaf tobacco, first processed, not cigarettes exported. We have no cigarettes exported. We are processed tobacco for another industry. But it's important because attracted foreign investment. Our region, where we live, where we come from, it's so dependent from tobacco industry because they have the most part of the employees, jobs, and it's very important for our region. Even the entire south of Brazil, the 3 states of south of Brazil are very dependent on tobacco production. Yes, Paraná, Santa Catarina, and Rio Grande do Sul. Our exporters, tobacco exports, the first market is Europe. Europe is the main market for our tobacco exportations. And of course, China. China is the first of all the goods or the products we sell it for China. And so, Dr. Alfonso spoke previously. We are connected with large markets. So we depend the growth with these large markets to grow too. But if you choose some markets, if you choose some products that can attract international investment, new technology, we can improve our local economies. That's my point. Automotive industry, that's the last one. It's the last one because about 10 or 8 years ago, General Motors decided to invest in our state. It's become important because a lot of another industries, auto parts industries, fabrics, make a complex. We call Blue Macau automotive industrial complex that attract a lot of foreign investment with the principal players in the automotive parts market, like you can show. And why this is important for us? This is important because in the south of Brazil we had some different companies that produce auto parts and components. So when GM, Chevrolet Group, decided to build an industrial complex in our state, this industrial park that we have previously, auto parts producers, have an injection of capital to be connected with GM. Especially in our mountain region, we have a metallurgic center. This metallurgic center can produce parts and components to GM project and other automotive companies. So when GM invested in our state, these companies, these local companies could grow. And with GM, new technologies, this enterprise, these international players are leaders in technology for auto parts and automotive industries. So we have gains from these connections with GM and his chain of suppliers. Car exports represents not too much in terms of economic value, but this is important for us because connecting us with Argentina, with Mercosur. The main market for our automotive industry, cars, first of all, is Argentina. If exists a connection with Mercosur, it's by cars. We import a lot of cars of Argentinian producers, like Peugeot and Renault, and we export GM to them. So there is a connection. I can see another connection, another important connection with Mercosur without cars. We have no other connections. We have the same production metrics. We produce the same things, and if you have no complementarities, we cannot trade. This is basic. So, concluding, international trade can promote economic growth, but not all of the products can promote economic growth. Just some commodities, just some goods promote economic growth because they can attract foreign investment. Foreign investment is important because there are scarcity of capital, scarcity of technology. This is our condition. So the international trade can promote this attraction, but not all the commodities. Just like them that can induce technology spillovers and local investment in subsidiaries or suppliers, local suppliers for these companies with low technology or improvements from technology that come together with these companies, the international traders. Capital and technology scarcity could be overcome through the integration with large and advanced international markets. We cannot produce technology because we are not good in science. It's the first reason. Our educational and scientific system not provide important innovations. It's hard to us, but it's the real problem. We have no conditions to innovate without a scientific system or produce a system that can use technologies in new products or old products that can be improved. So we can be connected to international markets and try to attract investment for our countries. That's our charge. Local economies are benefited by new jobs and technological spillovers. It's the first point. International investment, international trade can connect us with the most important traders, the most important players in the world economy. So they can come not to our countries with capital and technology. We can improve our local economy. It's my point. Thank you.
Are there any questions for our speaker? Yes?
Good afternoon. Why don't South Rio Grande do Sul's companies bid for other kind of markets like Ecuador or other Latin American countries?
Let me see. If I understand your question, you are asking for companies, Rio Grande do Sul companies that can be in Ecuador markets? Yes? Exported to Ecuador? Trade with Ecuador. Okay. When I walking around the city, going to hotel, coming from the hotel to the university, I saw some things. I think agricultural machinery, tractors, harvests, tillage equipments can be exported to Ecuador, I think. We have a region that concentrate medium and large companies that produce this machinery. I think Ecuador could be emergent market for this kind of product. And of course, poultry, meat, but I think you have this production, local production, but we produce the cheaper meat in the world. It's a competitive advantage. It's not a comparative advantage, it's a competitive advantage. But we can produce, because we produce too much grains that can feed the poultry, that can feed the pigs, or not another kind of turkey, or we have different kind of chicken. We called, let me remember, we have a big chicken that is almost a turkey. Yeah. Yeah, it's very tasty. It's incredibly very tasty, and I think we can export it. It's a good product to export it because they have value added. That poultry meat, that no value added. The additional value is about transform grain in meat. It's all the value added process. So I think we can export most products like buses. We have Marco Polo. It's a local enterprise that can export buses to Ecuador. The market, Latin American market, is very important for Marco Polo buses. Okay, I expect to reach your demand.
Thank you very much. Jolene.
Thank you so much, Herón. It was a very great speech. I just got one question regarding the services. So do you think the area you were talking about, South Brazil, do you think you have any services that can bring up investment and technology by exporting them? So on which one could be?
I think the most important service sector in Rio Grande do Sul is education. We have the most important education system in Brazil. We have too many universities. They state that have more universities for each people, for people. The rate, the university by people, it's the most important rate in Brazil. We have big universities, and I can export this kind of service. First of all, if you talk about graduate programs, scientists in chemistry, biology, business, we have this potential. In terms of services, I can't see another service that we can export, like educational services. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, one more thing before we go.
Bueno, primero quiero agradecer a las autoridades y en realidad a nuestra carrera por permitirnos tener este tipo de conferencias que nos aportan mucho. Nosotros estudiamos negocios internacionales, es una carrera muy interesante que nos ayuda a ver cómo funciona la economía del mundo, y gracias a todos ustedes por estar aquí y darnos este tipo de conferencias.
Finally, Joana Morales is going to close the event. She's the International Relations Director and the coordinator of the Summer School 2017.
Thank you. It is of remarkable importance for SEC International University to organize and be host of this kind of events of such prestige. We really hope that this conference fulfilled everyone's expectations. We do all our best and did everything possible to make it. With globalization, the whole world has overcome several transformations, and our university has tried to catch up and evolve with these changes. Starting 2 years ago, we have been working very hard to empower internationalization, and it has become of large importance of our institution. We would like to invite you to join us in this job, not only of these events, but also student exchanges and international academic programs for undergraduates and postgraduates of our university. I would like to give thanks to UNAM from Mexico, UNISC from Brazil, Unilots from Poland. Thanks for being part of this summer school, year after year. To our distinguished authorities for the opening and the support given, but also thanks for believing and trusting in the internationalization as the future of our education. To our students for participating in this conference and be the ambassadors of our university during this summer school Ecuador. To the invited schools, we hope to have you in future events, and especially we hope that your students become our students in the future, students of International SEC University. Finally, many thanks to all of our departments who helped to make this event possible. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Muchas gracias y hasta luego.